from the last week, not wet.
Okay, right, and
it's
everyone
Nom's
mute
wet
yourself
floor.
if you're not commentating, please. And I'll start recording. 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, and welcome to Ultimate League. We're here for the second round of the 11th season, of the 12th season actually, of the competition. I am joined here by the one, the only, the Nuno, the second. Nuno, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear. So Nuno retired at the end of last season. So did Nomskar, who's racing for FGR today, and Danimator, who is racing for Mayhem today. So that's fun. And yeah, well, it's an interesting track, Oulton Park. Lots of straights, soft meta from what I've heard. And we'll see how the drivers do as they cross the line for the first time. And the LSAs currently are on course to lock out the front row of the grid, Sobel from Hanandi. That's pretty interesting. But Nuno, how do you think qualifying will shake up come the end of the session?
Well, I think we might see, so far no one is doing a 26.2, so I'm pretty sure someone else like Puller or even Mandy will improve their laps, pretty sure. Yeah, so far Kraft and Andrew is really being a big surprise, Kado as well.
And Andy does improve. Graf up to third place, tied second with Sobel actually. 26.30. This could be a record highest qualifying position for the Lynx Racing driver, and that would be enormous for him. Jaruni also improves up to 5th, and it's Andres up to 7th position. That's really interesting to see. Great lap from Kraft. How will the times go as they come across the line for one final time for the third lap of qualifying? Sobel apparently made a mistake, people improve, but it's not quite enough, and Hanandi, here at Oulton Park, will take the pole position. Wow, wow, wow.
This is like Central Park all over again.
It certainly is. It's a sort of front row lockout for LSA. Definitely on the qualifying screen, it's Hanandi followed by Sobel, but tied for second on the grid, his highest ever qualifying position, Kraft for Lynx Racing, in what must be their highest qualifying position since back in the Nuno days in Sunday League X. The Anti-Amazing will start 4th, but he also tied with 5th place Pamushas, and Danimator in 6th, tied with 7th place Jaruni. So I have no idea what order the front 7 are going to start in. It could be absolutely anything. It's 8th place Corvid, we know that. Then Buddha, and I stole these words in the special BAR, the top 10 separated by a 10th and a half. Not too bad. Going down the order, we have Suicide qualifying up in 11th place. Kubo bottled qualifying, he'll start from 12th, but even then, only a quarter second off pole. Andrews will start 13th ahead of Kado in 14th. Rams, on his return to the league for the first time since Season 8, starts 15th. And Noms, the shock of the qualifying session, having apparently done no practice, ties that 15th place and on qualifying results is classified 16th. Urist will start 17th, and JT, a ways back, the last-minute replacement called in for Nordic Thunder, will start 18th and last. That was quite a qualifying session, Nuno. What do you think we're going to see in the race? Pretty chaotic track.
Yeah, and I think pretty chaotic start as well, with some drivers like Puda desperately trying to put themselves up the front. And yeah, I already took out the qualifying screen results, so I don't really remember, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Some drivers up there. I think Kraft and Gironi, I think they did pretty well there. And yeah, let's say they might have something really good chance here. I think Nandi, I think Sovo might be a huge help in second place for the Nandi to maybe win the race here today.
And to mention something quite uncommon, it is Charge JT's UL debut. However, he wasn't in attendance for the JL or the CL race, so he's going on cold feet.
Yeah. He is eligible to come in being a reserve for Rapid Motorsport, who are also running a special livery today, sort of Union Jack with the red nose and side pods. But yeah, coming in cold, and that might have to be something that his team owner, team boss, team principal will talk to him about at some point, because it is important for drivers to get that CL and JL experience. But seeing as he came in with no experience, cold feet, as Goosey once said, a 27.27, not the worst time in the world to see from the man stepping in for Nordic Thunder. It looked like it would be Kada, but it won't be. He has been told not to race. Kraft will start from the front row of the grid here at Oulton Park. 5 lights ahead of the drivers, and we're underway for the British Grand Prix. Hanandi on pole position, starts on the soft compound tyre. It softs all the way down to 7th place. for the running drivers at the front. We're going to have a big pack fight in the background. It's Kubo, Buda, Andries. Then it's also Kado, and I stole these words, Suicide and Rams behind them. Hanandi still leading the way. Sobel, then Anti behind, and Kraft obviously tucking in to second place as well. Danimator and Andri side by side. Pamushas off in the background there as well. Kubo trying to go to the outside of Kado, not managing it. Buda down in 12th place, and it looks like Noms has massively lost off the start. He's 13 seconds behind the pack, so that must have either been a stall or he's having lag issues akin to those that he had at the Hungarian Grand Prix a couple seasons ago, also in round 2. Nuno.
I'm being here following Buda because I think will be an interesting driver to follow, as he one of the best drivers, and he started quite far behind. He's now sticking on this group on the journey train, I would say, here for P5, and instantly enough he's starting on the hard tires, and I think I know why he's doing this. I think he's just thinking long term. He's not really caring much about getting positions now. He's thinking about when everyone else pits, and then he puts himself more at the front. And so I think that's how he's planning to make a recovery here today at Oulton Park.
Interesting indeed. So yeah, we've got the front four who have broken away. Corvid now backing up the pack. Jaruni tries to go for a move. Pamushas might be in on the action too. Kubo, for it looks like the third time in as many laps, has gone off the track. He's now fighting it out with Kado. We've got side-by-side action. Jaruni and Pamushas, they both go onto the grass. Corvid now just pile drives through, and he's up into 5th place now. But this pack is being immediately detached from the front four, who are all running pretty much in formation. It's Hanandi, then Kraft, then Sobel, then Anti, as it was in qualifying. Andrews up the inside of Danimator, his teammate coming back as a reserve driver. Of course, the SLX champion, as the reserve driver for Mayhem, is back now, and he just got shoved off by the man he's just put in the seat after 3 seasons away from main drivership, and now they're just battling there with Kubo as well. This is 9th place fight. Meanwhile, Pamushas has broken away ahead in 6th place, and Corvid ahead of him in 5th. There's still a big train of cars going on here. Kubo up the inside, Danimator shuffled wide, and he takes his teammate off the track. Not his brother for this race, but now he's off the track as well, and it's a disastrous couple corners for the Mayhem team. He gets it all in Suicide's business as well. Then it's I Stole These Words and Andries and Buda and Kubo. The FLS running 9th and 10th. The RMC's running 7th and 8th ahead, and they need to stay out of each other's way. No battling team orders, hopefully, down at RMC. As well as Pamushas and Corvid ahead. The front four now might just start to fight. They're just going here because Anti looks to shape up a move on Hanandi. It's going to be Kraft, the fellow Finn, flying in the background. Sobel currently backing up the train in 4th position. Hanandi made a mistake out in front, talking of backing up, and now he gets shuffled into the grass. That is huge for him because he's going to fall back into this pack behind Corvid, and Jaruni have very, very nearly caught him. Anti leads the British Grand Prix. Kraft currently runs in 2nd place. Then it's Sobel in 3rd. Nomskar must have had a major issue at the start. Sobel nearly lag rockets off the track with Kraft. They just keep it in on the very outside of that hairpin at the bottom of the circuit. That is a dangerous place to go side by side for sure. A lot of risk, but a lot of reward if you get the move right. Jaruni shaping up a move on Corvid now. His teammate Kado will be looking to pick up any scraps that come. Then it's Kubo and Buda. Behind is Pamushas, and it's Andries coming in, being the first ever driver in Ultimate League to take a ghosted pit stop. Good for him. Danimator, his teammate, will go through, and Charge JT in 17th. Nomskar, after that early issue, has come back, but it must have been a massive screen freeze or stoppage because he doesn't have a lasting issue, but he definitely did have something that slowed him down to begin with. Anti and Kraft into the lane. Sobel leads the race. Nuno, your thoughts?
Well, I'd say really interesting to see Kraft up there on that top 4 pack, and I think this might be something really new for him, and I couldn't imagine him being really nervous today, as pretty much has a chance for the podium here, and luckily for him he was in a really good situation to just stay calm and just try and stay on that pack, which he did pretty well, although now he lost contact with Anti, so I don't know, Anti with this undercut, he might have a good opportunity here. Meanwhile, we started to see the effects of Buda's strategy here, as now he's up there, now in 2nd, 3rd, actually up to 2nd place, and I think this is what Buda wanted to, at some point, when everyone else would pit, to find himself on this situation, maybe even take some slipstream here from Anti.
Well, Corvid leads here at Oulton Park. Buda, as you rightly said, in 2nd place on the hards, and I think that gap has shrunk a little bit because Buda definitely made up some ground. Anti behind, he is the first of the stoppers, and he might just get an overtake done here. It looks like Buda won't be that too difficult, and as you very rightly said, he's going to be looking to take some slipstream. It's Kraft, then Sobel, and Urist, who we haven't seen. I sort of caught the my eye on the edge of the screen, but it will be interesting to see how he's tried to help his teammate potentially if he tried to back up Sobel, because he's still in slipstream of the Dutch driver who is running the special livery for as a combined career of his, both as Sobel and J. Truly, running in his 100th race, and we couldn't be more proud of him in that beautiful LSA red and gold striped car. Sobel looking to make a move on Kraft now. They're going to go side by side down towards the hairpin. Maybe not anymore. Kraft will just back out of that one. Sobel goes through into third, but that is going to be second on track. Once Buda comes into the pit lane, he's going to be quite slow on those old hard compound tyres. It's Hernandi, then Danimator and Kubo, who have worked themselves reasonably well up in 6th and 7th positions. Hernandi has taken the hards after that stop, which would explain why he's dropped back more from the front pack, even after that run into the grass, which we could very well see investigated after the race. Definitely do have footage of it. Because that massively cost him time relative to the top pack. That's Jaruni and Corvid, who's finally coming in off those medium compound tyres, and he's going to be on fresher softs now. Then it's Caddo running in 10th, so Corvid in the RMC sandwich. Urist now runs 11th after the pits, and Pamushus has lost out pretty majorly. He was running in 6th before the stops, and now he's down to 12th. Suicide, respectable 13th place for him. I Store These Words and Andres. Rams, then Noms now only a couple seconds off the back of the pack, and Charge JT having come into the pit lane, just being lapped by his teammate leading the race. Anything from you at the moment?
In the meantime, looks like Karaf got a penalty, I think, for pushing Buda off, and they saw he lost contact now to this group where Solvo is in, and Buda is desperately just trying to keep on the slipstream, but now it seems like looks like Solvo is running away from Buda, and I think Buda soon might be thinking about making another pit stop. Oh, no rain!
That's exactly what he would have been waiting for. 16 laps, it's too long to stretch the hards, would be the voice in the back of his mind, but it looks like it's paid off here. He's in 3rd place as they'll come into the box, and he needs to just be careful on the entry to not run wide. He doesn't, and they all ghost into their boxes now, and it looks like it will be Antti leading the race, coming out onto lap 17, then Sobel, then Buda with Kraft right behind him. Kraft running in 4th place. It was a strange... Yeah, really strange to see that he just suddenly has really gained pace over the last few races out of seemingly very much nowhere. But he's just clearly put in the hard work, and I think there was a certain commentator who predicted him for a podium here today. So let's see if he'll get that in the end. Nandi, Urist, and Pamushas all to the intermediate tyres. Do you think that's the right call, Nuno, now the rain's going back away?
Yeah, I think the Heaters were the best tyres, but there's one thing I'm really just thinking about, which is the fact that we have Antti and Sobel up there, and considering their position from the previous race, they will be the top 2 probably from this championship after this race. And yeah, this is really interesting. Two drivers who I think never fought for a title, suddenly they are up there, and that's the interesting part about this season, as Buda just making his first race of the season as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Buda, of course, missed the opening round in Sepang, but the man who's expected to be his main title challenger for the season, Hernandi, who's a couple cars behind him on track at the moment, he only gained 5 points after a P13 finish, losing 12 positions from his grid slot on pole position. So that is really not something that he would have wanted. A pretty disastrous start to the season. Now, Buda got a slow entry into the pit lane. JT is keeping reasonably good pace with these front runners. Maybe he did have an issue earlier on that caused him to drop back. I think he may have taken an extra stop or something like that. I'm not sure. But Antti currently still leads, and then it's Sobel, then it's Buda with Kraft right behind. So last time we saw an FLF fighting for the podium. Of course, last race it was Antti versus Kubo, and that was a fantastic scrap. I'm very sad to see that we didn't get much of it on camera because there was so much happening in the midfield in Sepang, but they had an amazing fight, and Kubo just let that podium slip through his fingers in the closing laps of the race. We've got, once again, an FLF fighting for a podium here, and an underdog fighting for the podium, and it's Kraft looking for his first finish inside the top, I believe it would be his first finish inside the top 7 or 8. So that'd be really, really impressive if he can do that with a P4, or even, as he goes through to it now, a P3, but he's going to let Buda back through. He has more confidence in the Estonians' pace. Their countries are pretty much a stone's throw from each other, similar cultures from what we've heard, and there's always been close ties between the Finnish and the Estonian drivers on the grid. It will be an all-Nordic podium, probably for the first time ever. as it stands. Fernandi, Kubo, and then behind Corvin and Pemu, they're all coming into the hairpin, and then right behind Danny and Urist and Jaruni all fighting through the chicanes, and it looks like there was a mini lag rocket, and there's a much bigger one there, and they're stuck in the wall pretty much. Oh, they just got sandwiched in, and Urist gets boosted off the track by Cano. That was a huge lag rocket, and for the second race running, maybe it's a Eurocentric issue, because that was really, really quite something. Jaruni, I believe, has missed a checkpoint because he's down to, well, he was down to 18th place. I think that's definitely been an issue there, that there may have been a checkpoint missed in that chicane. But as we can see, he is running de facto 12th, and I think that is now correct, and hopefully will maintain that way. Yeah, just look at that nervously, because I don't want my timing sheets to be messed up. But there we go, that was pretty bizarre. Jaruni with a huge collision with Eurus there, and just as we saw last race with JT, I mean, Nuno, what causes lag rockets like that? Is it purely a sort of server issue? Is it cars in the wrong positions? How does that happen?
I think it may have been something that goes even further from like that first happen when they just start to go side by side, and then it's two drivers taking their ahead, and they are like fighting for the same spot, and then things when they think about turning for that second chicane, it's they just get stuck and they just go flying into the tire wall.
Two drivers who are maybe unfairly but notarized for complaining, let's say. I think we'll be exchanging some pretty harsh words with each other after the race. There was a bit of chatter in the RMC garage earlier about hopefully those two avoiding each other on track if can be, but that hasn't quite happened here today, has it? So Hernandi still runs in 5th. Then it's Kubo in 6th, Pamushas and Corvin and Danimator. As the tyres are starting to be more worn out, it's harder for drivers to keep slip, so we've not got quite the same close pack racing that we once had. Rams for his first race in nearly 4 seasons, back here fighting Andres with his first full-time seat since Rams retired, so that's a nice little duality, but it's only 13th and 14th for them at the moment. SCP will take better results than last race, hopefully. If you flip the table upside down, then they got maximum points, but unfortunately, as it was for them in Malaysia, it was second to last and slowest lap for them, so not great. Anti still leads, so Berlin, go on.
Yeah, in the meantime, I was noticing that the top 4, they all just, like, they were separating by a certain gap, but both the gap between Anti and Sobel and also the gap between Sobel and Buda was all just going down, and it looked like we would see sooner or later a pack of 4 drivers battling for the win, which also includes Kraft, who has just been sticking pretty well on Buda's slipstream, as you can see here. Now Anti goes into the pits after Sobel doing the same, and yeah, let's see if Sobel lost much time. Oh, and he's going for the hard tie. That's interesting to see Sobel now. He's going to take the slipstream from Anti, and that's quite a good call, I would say, from the Dutchman.
You've got to have real balls to back yourself on that outlap to be able to maintain the pace to somebody who comes out on the pit lane on fresh softs. Kubo might try and back them up now because it would be in his team's best interest. Yeah, he defends a little bit there. Sobel just pushes him to one side. I don't think Kubo has much choice. Those softs are browner than Jaruni's pants after that lag rocket, so it's pretty difficult there for him to defend. But Buda still runs in 3rd. I was just going to say, actually, remarkable job that the young Finn Kraft has been doing. Ooh, a little bit of dummy rain there. We love to see that. Oh, when was the last race that we had that? Maybe
Sobel catching up.
Sobel catching up.
Yeah, I think Kubo, what he did was to cause Sobel to lose the slipstream. It looks like Sobel has managed to get it back. Maybe Anti made a mistake on chicanes, I wasn't really seeing.
Yeah, just through that penultimate corner, I think it was, Kubo and Sobel went side by side. So it might have been time lost there. Go on.
And also, Nanti was like he was on the slipstream of Buda and Kraft, because he looks like he made another cut on them, but now it seems like he lost it, I think, with a mistake, and now he makes another one on chicanes, so... Yeah. So basically you got this group here at the front, Anti and Sobel, then the second one's Kraft and Buda, and now it's Kraft leading the way on this second fight. Very interesting.
I'd say to an extent that this could be mind games. Just hear me out. Buda has been giving Kraft slipstream for this entire stint, and there's no doubting that Kraft has really strong pace here. Many tipped him to win the CL feature race, which he very nearly did, bar for an extra pit stop. From what I've heard, at least. Kubo, the man who did win it, running in a very respectable 6th. But it could be to an extent Buda saying, you've taken my slipstream for an entire stint. Now I'm going to take the mediums, and it's your call. Because if Kraft has the pace, Buda can slipstream him and get that soft tyre pace. But Kraft can't exactly just sit behind Buda, with Buda being on the slower, harder compound of tyre, and expect that to work out, because they're just going to fall back into the clutches of Hernandi. Like you rightfully said, it was very close to slipstream, barring a couple of mistakes just a minute ago. It's Kubo, Pamushas, continuing a quiet but strong start to the season. 7th place for him at the moment, with just about 20 laps left to run here in Oulton Park. Danimator and Nomskar, two drivers who are sort of thought to set the world on fire as they came back from retirement for this race. Not so much at the moment. Danny in 8th, Corvid 9th, then Kado 10th, Eurus 11th, Andrews 12th, Isto 13th, Rams, then Jaruni, then Suicide, and now Noms, who's just come out of the pit lane on fresh soft compound tyres, in 17th place. He started on the hards, so that explains why he had to stop less than most people on the grid. But yeah, Noms, this has been a disaster class for the poor Portuguese man, and JT just a bit off the back of the pack, and that might be, as Goose said earlier, the issues that you face when you don't have that same pace. Anti coming into the pit lane, Sobel on the hard compound tyre will continue through, and he managed to keep anti-slipstream for pretty much that entire stint. That is exceptionally good news for him and for the Levioso Sports Arts team, who I know will be standing in their garage with their hands clasped together as you see Kraft and Buda go side by side through the chicanes. I think Buda is getting a little feisty because he thinks those mediums are now the faster compound of tyre, and Kraft, like a blue flag line, lets Buda through very obnoxiously at that little right-hander. But this is probably the right decision. I think Buda is probably right in thinking as well that the mediums are now the better tyre, because you can even see in the wear marker in the top right of your screen, the medium has less wear than the soft at the moment, because it's now come to that crossover point where the mediums should be faster. Sobel did stick in that slipstream. He will get undercut by those running behind, trying to make those extra stops onto the softs, as Kraft is just doing at the moment, going to that third to last pit box, because obviously they were the second to last team in the Constructors' Championship last year. This has been really interesting. Okay, so Kubo hasn't done an undercut. He is on very old tyres. But the two who fought it out for the feature race win in Challenger League, now next to each other on track for some amazing positions here in Ultimate League. Great to see that. Anti in 4th currently, and he has... Well, it's be interesting to see. He will definitely come out ahead of Sobel when Sobel comes into the pit lane. The question is if Sobel can save the pit stop, but will that strategy then maybe be ruined by a rain in the next stint after he comes in? Sobel is the championship leader, and he would adore to start the season with back-to-back victories, just as his old teammate Gamer15 did 7 seasons ago for the former junior team of Levioso Sports Art, Levioso Talenti Emergenti, as it was then. He won back-to-back races, got promoted to the senior team. They won the Constructors' Championship together that season for LSA, beating out FGR in the final round for the Constructors. Wasn't that right, Nuno?
Yeah, we both know.
That was a fun moment. Buda in 2nd place on those very old mediums. He surely will be in pretty soon. Sobel in office hards finally. That's interesting that Buda's taken those mediums.
Now Sobel to the pits.
Who else?
Sobel and now leaving, and he's like 3 seconds, 2 seconds behind, and now he's right ahead of Kraft, so a good switching opportunity maybe. Or maybe for Kraft himself, potentially.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see. He's on the hards, obviously, but the hards are much fresher. So you'd think for the moment it'll be best to let Kraft through, take a bit of that slipstream, and then figure out that crossover point as they go along.
Yeah, and the big thing here is that I think Sobel is going to the end with these tires. Yeah, I think he is, and Kraft might have to certainly pit again, and he as well, Buda, I think. Yeah, Buda just one more pit stop, and it's interesting to see how Buda, I think he's even doing one last pit stop to Anti, but I think that's because of
Those are some worn out mediums. Look at those. Jesus.
It's really extending the hell out of those tires, but doing an amazing job, as you can see now. Lap of 27, not 47, not that much slower than his best lap so far here. So yeah, I think Buda really knowing how to extend these tires and having some really good old tire driving.
It's amazing seeing the different strategies, even a race that we thought was going to be soft dominant, because this was advice given to me strategically before the race, saying that it is a soft only track unless you can make those hards work and just take someone's slipstream, and if you can, the world's your oyster. Well, they didn't quite say that. That's now a figure of speech for me. But if you can just sit in the slipstream of soft runners for as long as possible, just as Sobel did with Anti and now Kraft, then you just get soft tyre stints, but with half the number of pit stops. And that is, well, okay, not quite half, but still look at the position that he's in. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
Anti is into the pit lane. We'll follow his progress as he goes through, because it is
Yeah,
Buda
this is,
and Sobel and Kraft all coming out. And Kraft leads the British Grand Prix on lap 45. Go on, Nina.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. Like, Kraft had better tires than that, so was trying to catch up to him. Then you have here Sobel, who was trying to take his hard to the end of the race. And then you have Buda, who already made the last pit stop now, trying to catch up to this group, which I think he's doing a lot. And now Anti is making his last pit stop now, making an undercut on Buda, because actually he's not. He's doing an undercut on Kraft, which is pitting now. And so yeah, you have everyone now with better. Seems like the further position you are, the best position you are, the worse tires you have, and it's pretty much the interesting part now. So you have everyone trying to catch up to everyone now.
That's exactly it. That's when you have the whole field come together as Sobel laps Nomskar, the seasons 2 and 4 champion. So Sobel now leads. Buda is in second place. He's on the softs and has almost caught Sobel. We've then got Anti and Hernandi behind. Hernandi has taken those softs just as his LSA teammate has. He's taken the hards in order to take and reap the benefit of those soft compound tire runners. It all now depends on whether Anti can catch Buda. Buda now goes into the lead of the British Grand Prix. It must be our 5th leader of this race because, wow, and sets a PB lap while doing it, while overtaking Sobel. Not bad, kid. He's
a heads
up there
up on the tire strategy here. We have Buda being cited during practice this week, doing 12 lap stints on the softs.
Some may call him sadistic. Others may call him a genius. We'll see when the checkered flag falls, and I hope we don't get any rain towards the end of the race here, although that might now be a commentator's curse, because this strategy is fascinating. So Kraft was leading on that 45. As a relatively new-ish racer, he's got now nearly a couple seasons under his belt, but not quite, and definitely not any sort of massive high finishes to speak of thus far. That's got to be a really nervy moment to be leading the Grand Prix. But still, Buda and Sobel, I'm pretty sure they're going to be fighting it out here because that tyre switchover is coming. And it is pretty much here. Buda on the softs did catch Sobel. Sobel on the hards will be trying to retake the lead of the race if he can. But Kraft is still very much in that fight for the podium. And Anti will need some very good laps to be able to close in on that fight for the lead. But currently, as it stands, we've got the fight for P1 and the fight for P3. We'll have a very quick look down the rest of the order. Pimu's still running in a great 6th, but Danimator behind on slightly fresher softs, and Kubo on more worn-out mediums. It's not quite been the race that he had in Sepang. Then it's Corvid. Rooney runs in 10th. His teammate Kado behind in 11th, just being chased down by Urist, who's having a good race in 12th. Nomskar currently in 13th. It's Suicide, then Andrews. I stole these words. Unfortunate for him, he was running higher earlier on. And now we've got rain, and this is the very, very interesting part of the race. Will they come into the pit lane? Buda doesn't. Sobel doesn't. Oh, Buda just edges Sobel off the track there. Anti stays out, but Hernandi is in. Kraft stays out. Will this be the race-winning call? Of course, Hernandi took his first ever win in Greece in a rain-soaked race finish, but he was on the slicks that time. It's now role reversal here, and we'll have to see how it goes. Sobel will slalom through into the lead of the race. That is the most stylish lead overtake you're ever going to see in Ultimate League.
No.
He stays out. Buda makes a big mistake. Anti is nearly catching this pack, and Kraft is in. Kraft has decided it will be faster to pit for the wet. Hernandi on his intermediates goes through. Kraft goes on the wets. Pamushas is on the inters. Most of the field behind is. Corvid didn't pit. We're still going to look for the lead because Sobel on lap 53 of 53 on the hard compound tyre on a soaking wet track is still leading here. It's still Buda, then Hernandi, then Anti. Hernandi's made his way through. It might just be a double podium for LSA. It's certainly going to be a winner. Sobel drifts across the line, and Hernandi in the final corner takes second. Unbelievable. That's a 1-2 for the LSA team, who just beats Danimator to the line, and Kuba will take 8th. Jaruni looks like he'll inherit 9th. Now Corvid drops back into 10th place. Will he be caught by the man in 11th? That's Urist now. He's jumped Kado in the stops. Unbelievable. Unbelievable! What an... I said that I hope we wouldn't get... Corbin is not pleased. Oh dear. I really said that I hope we wouldn't get rain to end the race. I'm pleased we did in the end, because that was really quite something. And as we come to the results screen, Sobel, for the second race running, will win the Grand Prix. He wins the British Grand Prix at Oulton Park, and Hernandi, just as he took his first ever podium in Broad Oak nearly 1 year ago this week, has taken another podium, and it's a second place behind his teammate, a 1-2 for LSA in Britain once again. Buda will take third place, and Anti, who didn't come in for the slicks, didn't come in for the wet weather tyres, will go in fourth place. Kraft would have been so close to catching him in the end because he did pit for the wets, but it was a lap too late. Hernandi with an incredible gamble. That is one of the most impressive pieces of strategy I have ever seen in Ultimate League. Kraft will take a record highest 5th place finish, and he knows that it could have been more. He was 4.64 seconds off the race win. Pamushis will take 6th, Danimator 7th with the fastest lap of the race. Kubo in 8th place, then Charuni took 9th, and Corvid will be classified in 10th position. Right behind him was Urist in 11th, then it was Kado in 12th ahead of Nomskar, who took 13th. Suicide takes 14th place ahead of Andres, and I saw these words, Rams, and then Charge JT a minute off the win. Well, Nuno, where do we start on that one?
Yeah, I think we saw an amazing race here. I think for a race where drivers